Hey, what's up everybody? Today we're going to talk about a dish called chicken Kiev or chicken Kyiv. All proceeds from this video will be donated to the World Central Kitchen. They are an organization with Chef Jose Andres, helping to provide meals for those that are forced out of their homes from Ukraine. So please hit that like button and subscribe to help this video gain more views. If you'd prefer to donate directly to charities that help Ukrainian refugees, I'll put links in the description below. So for the purposes of this video, I'm going to call this recipe chicken Kyiv or Kyiv, which is closer to the Ukrainian pronunciation. Feel free to let me know in the comments below how the name of the capital city of Ukraine is pronounced. So the first part of the recipe is to make some compound herb butter. So here we're using half a stick of butter, about 4 ounces, adding approximately half a teaspoon of salt, some garlic, here I'm using granulated garlic, about a teaspoon, followed by some freshly chopped parsley. Now while we're chopping, a little bit of history for this dish. While there are varying stories for the origins and naming of this dish, as far as Russia to Ukraine to France and the Americas, it has become a popular staple for fine dining and now can be found in most grocery stores. Due to tourism as well as locals, this was a popular dish in the capital of Ukraine, in Kyiv. And you could find chefs making it all over. Unfortunately, with the current war going on, it will be very hard to find this dish in Kyiv for some time. My hope is through videos such as these, we can do our part to help those refugees fleeing from Ukraine while bringing awareness to the Ukrainian culture and cuisine. So once the ingredients are together, we just mix it up, and it does help if the butter is at room temperature. Once the seasoning and herbs are well incorporated into the butter, we have our compound butter. Now I'll just transfer this to some saran wrap and roll it up into a log and place in the refrigerator until I need to use it. While this is not a difficult recipe, it does take quite a number of steps, so be patient. Next, we'll prepare the chicken. I like to use some saran wrap over a cutting board, and we're using chicken breast meat. Now, slightly larger sized breast might be easier to work with. Here I have 2 chicken breasts, and I'll start with one and butterfly it. All that is to carefully slice down the middle and divide the breast into almost 2 pieces, but being careful not to slice all the way through so you end up with one large piece. Next, we'll further flatten it out to about a 1/4 inch thick. I'll just place this breast on one half of the saran wrap and fold over the other half. Now, if you have a meat pounder, that works quite well. I just use the flat side of a cleaver, and you can either just pound it with your fist over the flat blade, or you can use the blade itself and flatten the meat to about a 1/4 inch thick. Here you can see the meat is quite thin, about a 1/4 inch thick. And what you don't want are holes, as the compound butter is going to sit inside and you're going to use the breast meat to wrap the compound butter. You don't want that butter to leak out. Now I'm just going to simply season both sides with salt and pepper. The saran wrap also makes for an easy way to flip the meat over without getting your hands dirty. Here we're just seasoning the other side with salt and pepper as well. Now we're ready to wrap. We'll take that compound butter we made earlier out of the fridge, and here we're using about half of it for one chicken breast. Place that in the middle, and we're going to fold up the edges like a burrito. You can kind of think of it like folding an envelope, where you have the sides in, and then you have the top and bottoms up. The key is to cover all that butter so that it doesn't leak when you go to deep fry this later. And it's useful to have that saran wrap right there, where you can just wrap that chicken into a nice, uniform, and tightly wound shape. This makes for uniform cooking while keeping all that nice compound butter inside And then just repeat the same steps for any other portions you're about to make. Here I made a second one, as I will make 2 portions in this video. Now you could put these in the freezer to let them harden up, and you can store them there for a minimum of 30 minutes or until you're ready to eat. While the chicken is cooling, we can prepare our fry batter. It's a very classic recipe with 3 stations. The first is a half cup of flour and a teaspoon of salt mixed together. The second station is just an egg wash using 1 beaten egg. Now there are ways to make this more low carb by using almond flour, but I'm making the traditional recipe here. Now the third station is to use a half cup of panko breadcrumbs. If you don't have panko breadcrumbs, you could always just use flour and go back to the first station, but the breadcrumbs definitely gives it a much crispier crunch. Now we can take our chicken out of the freezer. They should have firmed up a bit, which makes it easier to work with. So first, dip it into the flour mixture and make sure it's well coated, especially any crevices, as that butter could leak out. This will really seal in all that butter when we fry it. Next, a quick dip into the egg wash. This helps all the dry ingredients gel together and creates a nice glue to now the third station, the panko breadcrumbs. And this will really add that crunch to the outside shell. And repeat this with every portion of chicken that we have. And again, I'm just making 2 portions here in this video. Once well coated, you could set it aside for a few minutes to let everything just kind of gel together. And then we'll get ready to deep fry. Now for the frying, we'll need to heat some oil. Here's canola oil up to 350 degrees. Here I'm using a small pot with about 2 cups of oil in it. And we're going to deep fry each portion individually. This way, if there's any mishap, for example, if the butter starts to leak out of the chicken, it doesn't ruin the whole batch. Also, if you don't have an oil thermometer, an easy way to test if the oil is ready is to stick a chopstick with some flour on it, and if it starts to bubble, it's ready to go. Time to get frying. Again, we'll do 1 piece at a time. We're only going to need to fry it for about a minute on a side until the outside gets that nice golden brown color. Here we'll give it a quick flip. You can see the nice golden brown color that's formed on the side. You can hear how crispy it is on the tongs. After another minute, this is ready to come out. You can let it drain on a paper towel while we now preheat the oven, as we now need to bake it. It's not done yet. Since I only have 2 servings, I'm going to use a toaster oven. So you want to bake this at 350 degrees until the internal temperature is about 165 Fahrenheit. This will take about 15 minutes. Another way to tell it's done is when some of that butter slips out and starts sizzling on the bottom of the pan or the foil. Looks lovely, doesn't it? And there you have it, a delicious chicken Kyiv. Now let's give it a taste, shall we? You can already hear how crispy that crust is, and it's plenty hot on the inside. It also smells wonderful with that herb butter that's oozing through and melting its way out. Because of the butter, this breast meat is actually incredibly moist and juicy. And make sure we get a piece of that crispy skin as well in each bite. Yep, very well seasoned. Like a little bit of that crispy skin followed by a quite moist chicken breast. And those herbs definitely do come through. This is quite a delicious dish. It's a lot of effort, but in the end, you will be rewarded. Again, please consider donating and helping the Ukrainian refugees. Proceeds from this video will go to the World Central Kitchen charitable organization, so please like and subscribe to help those in need. Thanks for watching.